Oh no, Marcus. In fact, you may be Marcus. He makes $85,000 a year. Early 30s, stable job, dependable paycheck. Every morning he walks out to a brand new pickup truck with chrome trim, oversized tires, leather seats, tinted windows, and a monthly payment that quietly controls his life. At red lights, people look at the truck. Coworkers assume he is doing well. Instagram confirms it. There are Cancun photos, rooftop bars, ski trips, steak dinners, gym selfies, airport stories. Marcus looks like the kind of guy who figured life out before everyone else did. His checking account has $400 in it. He carries nearly $9,000 in credit card debt at more than 20% interest. Last Thursday night, he lay awake calculating whether the insurance payment would clear before his paycheck landed Friday morning. He looked calm all day at work. Inside, he felt pressure every minute. Then there is Tyler, same city, same age, same $85,000 salary. Tyler drives a 2019 Toyota Camry with 74,000 miles on it. His apartment is clean, but forgettable. His clothes are normal. Nobody turns around when he walks into a restaurant. Nobody asks him for advice about success. Tyler skipped Cancun, he skipped the luxury truck, he skipped the expensive apartment. Tyler has over $187,000 invested in broad market index funds through Vanguard. No credit card debt, no car payment, no panic every time his phone buzzes with a banking notification. Last night, Tyler slept 8 uninterrupted hours without thinking about money once. Marcus looks rich. Tyler is quietly becoming wealthy. That gap, the distance between performing success and actually building freedom, destroys more financial futures than low income ever will. And most people do not realize they are trapped inside it until years have already disappeared. The performance economy. Modern life quietly trains people to spend money proving they are successful before they actually become successful. Every app on your phone reinforces it. Every algorithm profits from it. Open social media for 5 minutes and your brain absorbs hundreds of tiny status signals. Someone your age bought a luxury SUV. Someone else is in Dubai. Someone else upgraded apartments. Someone else got engaged on a beach resort that costs more than your monthly rent. The average person sees more displays of wealth in 1 week than previous generations saw in an entire year. Your brain was never designed for this much comparison. Researchers studying social comparison theory have consistently found that humans instinctively evaluate themselves against people around them. Thousands of years ago, status affected survival. Today, the same ancient wiring gets manipulated by marketing teams, luxury brands, influencers, financing companies, and recommendation algorithms designed to monetize insecurity. You are running prehistoric social software inside a trillion-dollar consumer economy. And it is expensive. Most people think they buy things because they want them. That is only partially true. Behavioral economists have spent decades studying how identity affects spending decisions. People often buy objects because of what those objects appear to say about them. A luxury watch does not just tell time, it signals competence. A high-end truck does not just transport you, it signals success, masculinity, status, power, or belonging. A designer bag is not only fabric and stitching, it becomes social proof. The dangerous part is that this signaling rarely ends because the feeling does not last. A Cornell study on the spotlight effect revealed that people dramatically overestimate how much others notice them. Participants wore embarrassing shirts into a crowded room and believed about half the room noticed. In reality, only a small percentage did. That applies to your car, your apartment, your clothes, your watch. Most people are too busy worrying about themselves to analyze your life nearly as much as you imagine. Yet millions of people structure their entire financial future around impressing an audience that barely exists. And here is where the trap becomes brutal. The more financially stressed people become, the more they often feel pressure to look financially successful. Because appearing successful temporarily protects the ego from feeling behind. Debt becomes emotional camouflage. The status tax nobody talks about. The average monthly car payment in America has remained near historic highs in recent years. Depending on lender data and vehicle category, many truck and SUV payments now sit between $850 and $1,900 monthly. People normalize these numbers because everyone around them is financing expensive lifestyles too. But normalization does not change math. A reliable used sedan can still provide years of transportation for a fraction of the cost. Modern vehicles regularly exceed 200,000 miles with proper maintenance. The reliability difference between a slightly used car and a brand new vehicle is often far smaller than people emotionally imagine. If one person spends $950 per month on transportation and another spends $300, the gap becomes $650 monthly. That is $7,800 annually. Over 10 years, before investment growth, that alone becomes $78,000. Then compound the money instead of spending it. The difference becomes staggering. Dining out creates another leak almost nobody calculates honestly. Food away from home spending now consumes a massive portion of household budgets. Restaurants, delivery apps, cocktails, convenience spending, late-night takeout, coffee runs, social dinners, emotional spending after stressful workdays. Individually, these purchases feel harmless. Collectively, they quietly erase wealth. A person spending $850 monthly eating out versus someone spending $350 with intentional planning creates another $500 monthly gap. Add premium grocery brands, subscription creep, impulse Amazon purchases at midnight, finance vacations, trendy apartments, luxury gyms, expensive weddings, upgraded phones every year, and the invisible status tax often reaches $15,000 to $20,000 annually for middle-income households. Not because their life is meaningfully better, because the performance is expensive. When I started realizing the trap, I understand this personally more than I like admitting. When I was younger, I also loved creating the appearance of a polished, successful life. Not because I genuinely had the financial capacity for it, but because I wanted people around me to think I did. I wanted to impress friends. I wanted to appear accomplished. I wanted attention. I wanted to look exceptional in the eyes of people I admired, even in front of someone I had a crush on. Back then, my definition of wealth was almost entirely visual. Wearing expensive designer brands, owning Tiffany jewelry, riding a luxury motorcycle, taking someone to dinner at Michelin-starred restaurants, staying at luxury resorts, posting polished photos that made life appear bigger than it really was. In my head, that was what rich people did. That was what success looked like. The problem was that my income at the time could not realistically support those choices. Credit cards slowly became normal. Financing became normal. Rationalizing purchases became normal. I would tell myself things like, I work hard, I deserve this, while quietly carrying stress I never admitted publicly. Eventually, I noticed something uncomfortable. I was spending enormous energy trying to appear relaxed and successful while privately becoming exhausted from maintaining the image. I realized I was not buying freedom. I was buying temporary validation. And the validation faded almost immediately after every purchase. That realization changed how I viewed money forever. Marcus, good income, no breathing room. Marcus brings home roughly $5,200 monthly after taxes and payroll deductions. That sounds solid. For many Americans, it is solid. But watch what happens when image-driven lifestyle inflation quietly consumes the entire paycheck. Truck payment, $867. Insurance, $230. Fuel, $280. Apartment in the right neighborhood, $1,450. Utilities, phone, internet, $320. Groceries, $420. Dining out and drinks, $750. Subscriptions, $190. Student loans, $380. Health expenses, $180. Total, $5,067. Money left, $133. And that is before emergencies, medical deductibles, gifts, maintenance, clothing, dating expenses, or minimum credit card payments. Marcus is not irresponsible in the stereotypical sense. He is not lazy. He is not reckless every second of the day. He simply normalized spending patterns designed to signal success. And because the culture around him normalized the same thing, it stopped feeling dangerous. But margin matters more than income. A person with high income and no margin lives fragile. One medical issue, one layoff, one unexpected repair, one reduction in hours, one economic downturn. Suddenly the illusion collapses. Financial stress rarely looks dramatic from the outside at first. It looks like checking your banking app 6 times a day. It looks like avoiding unknown phone numbers. It looks like pretending not to care about prices at restaurants while mentally calculating the bill. It looks like waking up at 3 a.m. replaying purchases in your head. It looks like low-level anxiety that never fully shuts off. Research from psychological associations has repeatedly connected financial stress with anxiety, sleep disruption, depression, relationship strain, and physical health problems. Debt does not only affect money, debt changes behavior. It changes emotional regulation. It changes confidence. It changes the amount of risk you can tolerate. It changes how trapped you feel. Marcus does not just have a truck payment. He has a hostage situation. Tyler, boring on purpose. Now look at Tyler. Same salary, same city, same economy. Used Camry, no payment. Insurance, $110. Fuel, $140. Apartment in a practical area, phone $100. Utilities, $280. Groceries, $320. Dining out intentionally, $300. Student loans, $380. Health costs, $180. Total, $2,010. Money left monthly. Tyler invests the difference consistently. Not because he is a genius, not because he discovered a secret stock, not because he inherited money, because he stopped needing every purchase to communicate status. This is the part most people underestimate. Small monthly differences become life-changing over time. If Tyler consistently invests roughly $2,390 monthly into diversified index funds and earns long-term market returns near historical averages, the compounding becomes enormous. After a decade, the account potentially reaches several $100,000. After 2 decades, over $1 million becomes realistic depending on market conditions and consistency. By his 40s or 50s, Tyler may possess something Marcus still does not have, despite years of looking richer. Options. That is what wealth really buys. Not applause, not attention. Options. The dopamine loop of looking successful. Neuroscience research around reward systems helps explain why people continue overspending even after they intellectually understand the consequences. Anticipation itself creates dopamine responses in the brain. Sometimes the anticipation of buying feels even better neurologically than ownership afterward. That is why scrolling for products online can feel strangely exciting. That is why people add items to carts late at night. That is why package deliveries temporarily create emotional relief. Then adaptation arrives. The luxury car becomes your normal car. The expensive apartment becomes your normal apartment. The designer bag becomes another object in the closet. The expensive vacation becomes a memory. But the payments remain. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Humans rapidly normalize improvements in circumstances. The emotional spike fades. Then the brain starts chasing another one. New watch, new vacation, new upgrade, new phone, new neighborhood, new version of yourself. This can continue forever. People do not realize they have accidentally turned self-worth into a subscription service. Social media made everything worse. 20 years ago, your comparison group was smaller. Coworkers, neighbors, friends. Today, your comparison group includes celebrities, influencers, entrepreneurs, athletes, and strangers selectively curating the best 1% of their lives. Algorithms disproportionately reward visual luxury because luxury creates aspiration, envy, and attention. Attention keeps users scrolling. Scrolling increases advertising revenue. The system profits when you feel slightly inadequate. That does not mean social media is evil. It means social media is optimized for engagement, not emotional health. There is another uncomfortable truth on the bounds that most people never say out loud. Many people displaying expensive lifestyles online are not financially secure. Luxury cars are frequently leased. Vacations are financed. Credit card balances are hidden. Entire industries exist around helping people appear wealthier than they are. Research around consumer debt has consistently shown many high earners still live paycheck to paycheck. Income alone does not guarantee stability when lifestyle inflation expands at the same speed. That is why looking wealthy and being wealthy often have an inverse relationship. The people spending the most energy signaling status are frequently the people who have the least financial flexibility. What actual wealth usually looks like. Studies examining actual millionaires repeatedly reveal something surprising. Many wealthy people look incredibly ordinary. They drive practical vehicles. They avoid unnecessary debt. They keep expenses manageable. They invest consistently. They buy quality where it matters and ignore status where it does not. The average millionaire is statistically far more likely to drive a mainstream car than a supercar. Many wealthy people quietly wear inexpensive clothes because they stopped needing external validation from strangers years ago. That invisibility becomes power. Because when money stops constantly leaving your life to fund appearances, compounding starts working for you instead of against you. One of the biggest psychological shifts financially successful people experience is this. They stop trying to use purchases to regulate identity. A financially insecure person may buy something hoping it changes how they feel about themselves. A financially secure person buys things mainly because they are useful, meaningful, or genuinely enjoyable. Those are very different motivations. The hidden cost nobody talks about. The real cost of overspending is not only financial, it is emotional. Debt quietly narrows your life. A person with high fixed expenses cannot easily leave a toxic job. They cannot take career risks. They cannot reduce hours to recover from burnout. They cannot pivot industries easily. They cannot handle emergencies calmly. The expensive lifestyle that initially felt empowering slowly becomes a cage. Many people believe luxury purchases create freedom because they associate wealth symbols with powerful people. But finance status often creates the opposite of freedom. Every monthly obligation increases dependence on continued income. The more expensive your lifestyle becomes, the harder it becomes to tolerate uncertainty. You become easier to control. That is why financial stress changes personality over time. A constantly stressed nervous system becomes more reactive, more exhausted, more anxious, more emotionally fragile. Couples fight more about money than almost any other recurring issue. Financial strain increases tension inside relationships because survival pressure amplifies everything. The person who looks glamorous online may actually be emotionally exhausted maintaining the image. And eventually many people hit the same realization. They are tired, not physically tired, identity tired, tired of performing. Why stopping feels uncomfortable at first? When Marcus imagines trading the truck for a used sedan, he does not first think about the savings. He thinks about identity. What will people think? Will I look unsuccessful? Will my friends judge me? Will dating feel different? Will people assume I failed? Consumer psychologists have documented how possessions become extensions of identity. People emotionally attach meaning to objects. The apartment is not just an apartment. The watch is not just a watch. The car is not just transportation. These objects become symbols inside personal narratives. That is why downsizing can initially feel emotionally painful even when it is financially smart. But something important happens after enough time passes. The same brain that adapted to luxury also adapts to simplicity. The cheaper apartment starts feeling normal. The used car starts feeling normal. Cooking at home starts feeling normal. Saying no to unnecessary spending starts feeling normal. And then something unexpected arrives. Relief, a growing emergency fund, less panic, less checking the banking app, less pretending, more honesty, more breathing room. The emotional peace created by financial margin lasts far longer than the emotional spike from status purchases. The most expensive word in personal finance. The most expensive word in personal finance is not luxury, it is deserve. People use that word to emotionally justify purchases their financial reality cannot support. I deserve this vacation. I deserve this upgrade. And I deserve this car after working so hard. And sometimes that is true. But deserving something emotionally does not mean purchasing. It improves your life mathematically. Real financial maturity often means learning to separate emotional validation from spending decisions. That does not mean never enjoying money. It means choosing intentionally instead of reactively. The difference between rich and free. Many people want to look rich. Very few people prioritize becoming free. Looking rich is external. Freedom is internal. Looking rich depends on audience perception. Freedom depends on ownership of your time. Looking rich often requires constant maintenance. Freedom reduces maintenance. The strange part is that society celebrates visible consumption far more aggressively than invisible stability. Nobody notices your emergency fund. Nobody compliments your low debt-to-income ratio. Nobody applauds automated investments. But those invisible decisions quietly change entire futures. Research on happiness and money consistently suggests that after basic needs and stability are met, the greatest benefits of money come from reduced stress and increased autonomy. The ability to direct your time matters more long-term than symbolic purchases. Real wealth is not a Lamborghini. Real wealth is waking up on a Tuesday morning without panic. Real wealth is being able to leave a bad environment. Real wealth is not feeling trapped. Real wealth is saying no. Practical steps that actually work. If you recognize yourself in Marcus, the goal is not shame. Shame rarely creates sustainable change. Awareness does. Start by auditing recurring expenses honestly. Ask one uncomfortable question. Would I still buy this if nobody else could see it? If the answer is no, investigate why the purchase exists. Next, focus on one major category first: housing, transportation, dining. Do not try changing everything overnight. One large recurring reduction matters more than dozens of tiny sacrifices. Build emergency savings before obsessing over advanced investing strategies. Peace changes behavior. People make better long-term decisions when survival anxiety decreases. Automate investing whenever possible. Behavioral research repeatedly shows automation improves consistency because it reduces emotional decision-making. Upgrade quietly, improve skills, health, relationships, sleep quality, career flexibility. These appreciate better than status symbols. And perhaps most importantly, redefine success privately before the world defines it for you. Because if society determines your definition of wealth, you will spend enormous amounts of money buying symbols that never fully satisfy you. The moment everything changes. There is a very specific moment where transformation begins. Not when you become rich, not when your investments hit a certain number, not when you pay off every debt. The moment everything changes is earlier than that. It happens when you stop needing strangers to validate your life. That is the real turning point. The moment you realize the truck was never actually about transportation. The expensive dinner was never really about food. The luxury apartment was never truly about comfort. They were identity performances. And once you see that clearly, the emotional grip weakens. You stop spending money to maintain an image. You start spending money to build a life. Those are completely different paths. One path creates temporary applause. The other creates long-term peace. The future most people never see coming. Marcus keeps upgrading. Slightly nicer apartment, slightly newer truck, slightly more expensive vacations. Salary increases arrive, but expenses rise alongside them. Years pass quickly. The lifestyle looks successful from the outside, but internally the pressure never fully disappears because the system requires constant income to sustain itself. Tyler keeps doing boring things. He drives practical cars. He invests automatically. He avoids unnecessary debt. He keeps fixed expenses manageable. He lets compounding work quietly. At first, nobody envies Tyler. Then one day something changes. Maybe Tyler takes 6 months off without panic. Maybe Tyler leaves a job he hates. Maybe Tyler starts a business without desperation. Maybe Tyler spends more time with family. Maybe Tyler simply wakes up one morning and realizes he no longer feels trapped. That is what wealth looks like before it becomes obvious. Not flashy, not cinematic, not viral, quiet. A used Camry in a forgettable parking lot, automatic investments, no audience, no performance, no applause, just arithmetic quietly compounding while everyone else is busy trying to look successful. And the strange thing is this: once people finally experience the emotional peace that comes from financial margin, many realize they never actually wanted the expensive image as much as they thought. They wanted the emotional security they assumed the image represented. But the image and the security were never the same thing. One was appearance, the other was freedom. And freedom almost always looks more boring from the outside than people expect. The final truth: The people trying hardest to look wealthy are often financing the illusion with stress. The people quietly becoming wealthy often look ordinary for years. One group spends money creating the appearance of success. The other spends years buying back control over their future. Marcus bought symbols. Tyler bought time. Marcus bought impressions. Tyler bought options. Marcus optimized for attention. Tyler optimized for autonomy. And autonomy is the luxury nobody can fake for very long. Because eventually reality arrives. Interest compounds, debt compounds, investments compound, habits compound, stress compounds, peace compounds, everything compounds. That is why the smallest repeated financial behaviors matter so much more than occasional dramatic purchases. Most people think wealth is built through extraordinary moments. Usually it is built through ordinary decisions repeated consistently for years. A cheaper car, a smaller apartment, a home-cooked meal, an automatic investment, a decision not to impress strangers. Tiny choices, repeated long enough, powerful enough to completely alter a human life. And the moment you stop trying to look rich, you finally create the possibility of becoming free. Thanks for watching.